In this video, I'm going to show you how to make worm-safe bedding. This is one of our helpers. This is Spamla. And you see all that hay she's sleeping in and pooping in? Well, we're going to use some of that, and we're going to make some worm-safe bedding. We got a nice bin here, a little black mason bin. I'm going to throw some cardboard in that bin because we want to make sure that we have a few different layers of stuff. Then on top of that, I'm going to throw some leaves. This is Quaker comfrey. This Quaker comfrey is great for worms. The worms love it, and we've found that they produce more capsules when you add this to their bedding. So it's just a plant. We grow a bunch of it out in the fields, and we cut it down and we mix it in with our bedding. You don't have to do this. You could use regular grass clippings and stuff like that, but we found that this works the best. This right here is a Quaker comfrey plant. So you can see we have a bunch of these. We grow these out in the field. These were probably cut about 3 times already, and this is June. So they're looking a little stringy. Usually they have big, fat, broad leaves, and they're a little bit on the rough side. But it's great food. The pigs, cows, rabbits like to eat it, and it makes a great addition to the bedding. And like I said, we've noticed that we get a lot more capsules when we add this to our bedding. Okay, so we added one layer of cardboard. That's all we're going to add to this is one layer right now. Then we added, for green material, we added Quaker comfrey. You could use grass clippings. You could also use leaves, things like that. But right now, for us, we're just doing this. Now we're going to add some hay and pig manure, rabbit manure, and let it heat up. All right, so our helper Spamla has moved on. She left her little coop here, so we're going to steal some of her bedding. So what we like to do is just dig in, get the stuff that we've been layering in, so we get a good mix here. Some poop. She does not like me digging in her stuff, but you can see that. See how that looks good. All right, get out of there, Spamla. Spamla, out. All right. Now we're gonna add some poop in there. And you can see she's eating that. She loves the Quaker comfrey. She's eating that Quaker comfrey that we added in. Yeah, they love it, and it's great for the worm castings. Now it's even better once they poop that Quaker comfrey out. And here is some brand new pig poop. So we're gonna just add this in. I do not want to touch that with my hands because pig poop is disgusting. It's almost as bad as human poop, but not quite. All right, what's the matter? No more for you. This is poop now. This is worm bedding. All right. See here now we have some of our bunnies, and we have some bunny poop and bunny food, which is the best stuff you can get. Now this is probably soaked with urine because these guys are in a building, and as you can see, so this is for this to be this wet, it's either from their water bowl or they're peeing on it or both. So this is one of the reasons why we want to age even rabbit manure. So we're going to put the mix of food and this rabbit poop, and we're going to keep it all pile it up nice and high. We want to cover that cardboard up, and then we're gonna mix it daily, maybe every couple days. And we want to make sure that's all covered because we want a nice good mix. Then we're going to add more hay. Again, another layer of hay. And what that does is that enables air to get in there, but also as everything breaks down, it makes it nice and fluffy and nutritious for these guys. So when we put our worms in there, they're gonna think that they went to a Chinese food buffet or whatever, Italian food buffet. I don't care. I don't want to be racist. Just saying. Whatever your favorite food is, that's what the worms are going to be at. Anyway, so now we're going to wet it down and we're going to leave it in the sun and let it cook. All right, here it is. Now we just wet it down real good. Not soaking wet. You want some good aerobic activity in there. You don't want it to become anaerobic and all stinky. You want it just so it's, I said I wasn't going to put my hands in there and I just put my hands in there. It's disgusting. But anyway, I'm just doing that to show you to mix it up. But you just want it moist but not soaking wet. You want it to break down. And when it gets hot, it's going to need a little more moisture because it's going to evaporate. The heat's going to cause all the water to evaporate. So you can hear the pigs. Anyway, so we just let this is still dry under here. We want to make sure we get all that wet. Now, what you want to do is every day or two, you want to mix this good. So you can make a much bigger pile than this. Remember, this is only half of the ingredients for your worm bedding. But you can make a much bigger pile. That'll help it heat faster and break down faster. I'm only making a small pile here so that you can see how to do it. You don't have to use a bin either. You could just do it on a solid surface and pile it high and wet it down and mix it. But anyway, so what we want to do is just make sure all the ingredients are mixed good, that they're wet, and then we leave it. So I'm going to leave this now. We'll leave this for a couple weeks in the sunshine, and I'll come back and I'm going to cover this with a tarp to keep the heat in. And then when I come back, we're going to take a look at it and see where we're at. So today is day, I think, 17. And here's our worm bedding and our top. I told you I would take a look at it after. I've mixed this every couple days, let it heat up in the sun. It's early in the morning now, so there's no sun on this, but the sun's been beating on this hot tarp for 17 days and been cooking this stuff down. So you can see this is where we're at now. So that cardboard we had in there, that's what's left of it. It's being pulverized by microbes being eaten up. And you can see the straw. So maybe this might even need another week or two to break down. It definitely needs more water, and then we're going to be able to use this. So I'm going to wet it down again, put it back under, and we should be all ready. But this is almost a finished product. So when it looks like this, it's ready. So you can see it's all not totally broken down. There's pieces of cardboard. The straw is cooked up. All the manure has biodegraded into a mess. And then you can see like the green from the Quaker Comfrey it's pretty much gone. It's just rotted away and heated up, cooked, and this became part of this bedding. Now what the heating is going to do too, especially with the black tarp in the sunshine, is that it's going to kill a lot of the wild worms, most of any wild worms that were in here. So let's say you're growing African night crawlers, which is what we're going to use with this. We don't want wild worms, or red worms or European night crawlers in this bedding. We want it clean. We don't want to have mixed worms when we sell them to our customers, or we don't want to be feeding red worms in our African bin. So heating it makes sure that all the worms are gone. Any foreign worms are dead. We also pick through this after to make sure that there's nothing in here that will cause any problems for whatever worm we're growing. And in this case, like I said, it's going to be African nightcrawler, so we want to make sure that we do not have any mix. Not that it'll hurt the worms, but it'll definitely hurt the product if we're selling African nightcrawlers and people are getting red worms mixed in. That will not make people happy, especially with the premium price they pay for African nightcrawlers. Well, now we're going to go on to step 2. So this is, like I said, there's two parts of the bedding. The first part is the manure and straw mixture. So we have manure, straw, some Quaker comfrey, and one big sheet of cardboard that we mixed in to make sure everything stays nice and fluffy and retains water. And now part 2 of our bedding, because we don't use peat moss because it's not non-renewable. Everybody's making noise out here today. Is to make the part 2 of our bedding. So, as you know, we also grow a lot of worms, roaches, crickets, and things like that. So we use a lot of these. These are egg crates, and they are very good at decomposing, and they're great for worm bins. So we add those to our paper, which is the other 50%. We're going to mix this paper once it's broken down with that. So 50-50. So I'm putting this in. We have some cardboard here. I'm going to rip this up, make sure that there's no plastic, cellophane, or staples in this. We want to make sure that this is clean for your worms. And then we want to do the same thing we just did for the manure and straw mixture. We want to make sure that we wet it down and then we let it age for a while so that it starts to break down. So here's the mixture, all shredded up. We're just going to wet this down real good. And you have to really soak this well because that cardboard and the newspaper will absorb a lot of water. You want to make sure that we get that to really soak in. You could just mix that around, but you saw all that water we just put in, and there's still dry paper in here. So we want to make sure we get that so it's almost like a mushy slurry of paper and pulp. And those egg crates, they will absorb a lot of water too, but they make good bedding, and the worms eat them right up. And that's that. So we're just gonna make sure that's all wet. I'm gonna add a little more water to that, and I'm gonna let that sit. And then I'm gonna show you how we mix it together to make sure it's perfect. But we're gonna let that sit for a while. So this is pretty much a finished product. So I didn't wait a couple weeks. This is probably, I don't know, about 8 days. You can see these are the egg crates. You can see they're all mushed down to nothing. The paper, cardboard, got a lot of sow bugs in here. I guess they like that. But anyway, so now I'm gonna show you how to mix this 50-50, and then how to put it into the worm bin, because we're gonna use this for the breeding bins. So now I put these two side by side. So there's manure, straw, and a cardboard and Quaker comfrey bin. You can see that mix again, and then we have the paper. So I'm going to remove probably half of this paper, because in our breeding bins, we're going to put in this bin about 250 African nightcrawlers, but we're only going to go 3 inches tall, 3 inches high. That's all they need to be put in a breeding bin. So they stay at the top. We feed them at the top. The food, now we're going to feed them our Worm Man's worm food, a mix that we've created that really works well for our worms. But what we're going to do here is we have this all mixed. The purpose for this bedding is the worms, over the next 21 days that they stay in this breeding bin, will eat some of this, but they're going to lay a lot of capsules in this. And when their babies hatch out, they're going to eat. They're going to be the ones that eat this mix. The adult worms are probably going to spend more time eating our grain mix in our worm food. So this is about 50-50. And as you can see, That's that. So this has already been aged. We don't have to worry about this heating up. We don't have to worry now about the paper heating up with the manure. It may heat a little bit at this point, but it's not going to heat enough to do anything because this is already heated way up. It cooked basically, and it's been in the sun, so all that bioactivity should have been worked out of this. And now this is going to be a great place to put some worms to make babies. So hopefully you can see this. We're in our worm building now, and this is our bin. It's filled 3 inches up with our mix, 50-50 of straw, manure, and then we have our paper and cardboard. These are our African night crawlers. Beautiful, beautiful big breeders. This is the best size for breeding. So about 6 to 7 inches is the best size. You get those, we have some giant ones that'll grow out and just be gigantic. They do not breed well. They're not even great for bait because they're so big. You'd have to cut them up to use them, and that's cruel and unusual punishment for the worms, and then they die, and you want them to be lively. So this is really the best size. These, we put about 200 into this bin. They've mostly burrowed down. Then I'm gonna, after they're in, we're gonna put a polyethylene sheet, so black plastic will go on top to keep the light out. And then in a couple days, I will start to give them a good feeding of our worm food. I'll just sprinkle it lightly, and they'll come up and eat from there. And then I'll start to see the capsules. And in 21 days, then they move on to another bin. And that's it. So I hope you learned from this. If you have any questions, just ask them below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks.